Hello everyone, it's the month of Halloween again as October begins, and last year I had a video going over my personal Halloween film and TV recommendations. This year I'm going to have a couple of the same options as well as some new films or TV shows you can watch for the month of Halloween. As always, Freddy Krueger films with A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Hellraiser, Chucky, or Halloween with Michael Myers is a mandatory watch, including Ghostface with the Scream series. Any of those type of movies are perfect for Halloween. And as always, Hocus Pocus and Halloween Town are classics, along with Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island and The Nightmare Before Christmas. Starting off with the new films, you can watch Halloween, October 19th in theaters. That film looks amazing as is requel of the Michael Myers series with Laurie Strode returning, Jamie Lee Curtis. It looks fantastic. That is perfect for Halloween. And as you know, everybody's entitled to one good scare for Halloween. I mentioned a lot of other films, but some other classics you can check out are Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal, starring Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. Silence of the Lambs is a better film. As a matter of fact, that came out on my birthday. Crazy, I know, but Anthony Hopkins gives such a fantastic performance. I want some liver and fava beans with a nice Chianti. And then Ridley Scott directed the sequel Hannibal. Even though it doesn't have Jodie Foster, we do have Julianne Moore and Ray Liotta. Such a crazy film, a little bit more gory than its predecessor, but both are very good films for Halloween. Last year I mentioned the classic Poltergeist. No, not the Bourne remake, the classic Poltergeist. You can watch that, but there's also the two sequels with Poltergeist 2, The Other Side, and Poltergeist 3. The second one continues the same story, and then we're introduced to a new family at a different complex in part 3. If you're a fan of the original Poltergeist, do yourself a favor and check out those underrated sequels. We just had The Nun come out, and we had Annabelle, but before that, we had The Conjuring. The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2 are two very well-done horror films directed by James Wan. I love The Conjuring film series, probably the best of its type since the original Exorcist, and yeah, it's based upon a true story. Definitely do yourself a favor and check those out. After that, I recommend It Follows. Pretty much the best PSA announcement of abstinence. Hey, you don't want your kids messing around? Show them It Follows. They'll never have sex. It Follows is so creepy. It has like Wes Craven and John Carpenter vibes. With the way it's shot and the score, I love It Follows. One of the most original horror films of the decade. And going on It, after that is the remake of It by Stephen King. It's only part one of the story, but I love it. It's creepy, maybe not as creepy as the miniseries, but still it has some good moments, and it's heavy, very brutal, especially with the young kids. If you want something lighter, I recommend Zombieland starring Woody Harrelson and Emma Stone. It's such a fantastic movie. It has Bill Murray, Jesse Eisenberg. I love this movie. It's a perfect comedy and horror film put together. And yeah, never mess with a man's Twinkies. Just never do that. No. And remember to always double tap. Going on lighter films, we have The Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, but there's also a part 3 to that called Army of Darkness, which is very different than the first two, but still continues the wacky and zany adventures of Ash. If you're a fan of Ash vs. the Evil Dead, definitely check out Army of Darkness. There's a lot of cool fantasy horror elements for the month of Halloween. If you want something different, there's a German film that's a vampire film called We Are the Night. Pretty much the Lost Boys with women. I love this. It's the best elements of the Lost Boys that interview the vampire with like the vibe of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I really love We Are the Night, and if you somehow are able to check it out, make sure to check out the German version. Don't watch the dubbed version, watch the German version with subtitles. Best viewing experience for that film if you're a fan of horror and vampires. After that, I recommended the Insidious trilogy, but we have Insidious: The Last Key. Now, it's not as scary as its predecessors, but it's not entirely bad either. So if you want something extra to watch that's PG-13, I highly recommend Insidious: The Last Key. It's enjoyable for what it is if you want to watch a scary movie at night. Going on a little bit to TV shows, we have Stranger Things 2. Now, the first season of Stranger Things was kind of scary, but season 2 really has the vibe of Halloween down packed and is perfect for the month of October. In addition, I also recommend going to Hulu and checking out Stephen King's Castle Rock. That is crazy, and as always, Bill Skarsgård was great as the clown in It, and this he's even more terrifying in Castle Rock. If you're a Stephen King fan, definitely check out Castle Rock. After that, there is a really great sleeper hit this year for 2018, and that's A Quiet Place. It's not your traditional horror film, but it's more like an Alfred Hitchcock movie, or like Signs. It's very suspenseful. A lot is done with noise. The sound editing makes it one of the best viewing experiences for a film I've seen in recent years. Also, it's kind of similar is a suspense thriller called 10 Cloverfield Lane. I had mixed feelings about the first one, but 10 Cloverfield Lane is crazy with Mary Elizabeth Winstead and John Goodman. Oh my god, John Goodman is evil in this movie. Such a brilliant suspense thriller. Definitely check out 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's one of my favorites. After that, if you're in the mood for a comedy that's kind of dark and like Home Alone if it was rated R, I would recommend The Babysitter on Netflix, directed by Mick G. Yeah, this is just a crazy film, but it's perfect for Halloween. It's that type of like 80s cheese. Just a cheesy B movie, really. But it's good. It's like really enjoyable. So if you're alone on a Friday night, you want to watch Netflix, get in the mood for Halloween, watch The Babysitter. It's pretty much Home Alone if it was rated R. After that, I recommend a horror film called Don't Breathe. Oh my god, this is a crazy, crazy, crazy horror film. I love this director and the way this is shot. Just one of the most visceral, intense horror films of the decade. Then I recommend Train to Busan if you're a fan of zombies. It was done in Korea. I love this film. This is a really well done zombie film, all on a train in a closed environment. Utter insanity. Definitely one of the best. If you're a fan of the Resident Evil games or just anything in the zombie genre, Train to Busan is a breath of fresh air. After that, it's more of a thriller, but to get ready for Glass, I recommend watching Split with James McAvoy. He has so many different personas. It is nuts. Suspenseful, very Hitchcockian. I love Split. Definitely one of M. Night Shyamalan's best films since his early days. I love it. If you have never seen Split, definitely check it out, especially for McAvoy. Are you trying to trick me? Etc., etc.? Okay, now going to satanic stuff, I recommend Rosemary's Baby. Holy cow, Rosemary's Baby is a terrifying film with Mia Farrow, and yeah, it's just an evil, devilish film. I mean, it's like the Antichrist being born. Speaking of the Antichrist, I also recommend the original Omen, directed by Richard Donner. Oh my god, the Omen, little kids in horror films are just scary. Children are innocent, but when it's perverse, they're just scary as hell in horror films, and Damon is no exception. He's an evil little bastard, and yeah, he happens to be the Antichrist. If you're in the mood for some more classic films, I recommend Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. You will never look at Birds the same way. Seriously, it was a freaky movie by taking something so ordinary and just basically multiplying it and having them attack people. Such a crazy, well-done movie, even by today's standards. I love The Birds, one of Hitchcock's best films. After that, I recommend Guillermo del Toro's early film called Mimic, with these bugs. Very good film, especially if you're a del Toro fan. I love his work in Hellboy, Blade 2, Shape of Water, but Mimic was one of the early films that really got me interested in the filmmaker. He had his own trials and tribulations to go through while making that, but it still is a solid horror film in its own right, and nothing's more scary than seeing a whole bunch of bugs. Like, seriously, Creepshow. Yeah, Creepshow is awesome, whether it be from George R. Romero, Stephen King. So many brilliant minds behind Creepshow make it such a terrifying and unique film. Definitely among the best of horror anthology films. Do yourself a favor and watch Creepshow. After that is an underrated vampire film by Catherine Bigelow called Near Dark, starring the late great Bill Paxton. I love it. This film is finger-licking good. If you like John Carpenter's vampires or From Dusk Till Dawn, definitely check out Near Dark. After that, with Jamie Lee Curtis, is the film Prom Night. All you need to know is that it's a horror film on Prime Night with one of the original Scream Queens herself, Jamie Lee Curtis. Such a fantastic movie. I also recommend the original and remake of My Bloody Valentine, especially the remake. That one surprised me. Has Jensen Ackles from Supernatural. Yeah, both of those movies are awesome. I love both My Bloody Valentine films. Definitely check them out. After that, I recommend an adaptation of Stephen King's novel Carrie, directed by Brian De Palma. They had a remake of this, but definitely check out the original. Such a crazy, intense film, and yeah, all about bullying and treating people the wrong way, and a person can only take so much. Definitely check out Carrie. I also recommend John Carpenter's Vampires with James Woods and John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars. Both very good action horror films in the genre, and definitely two underrated films by John Carpenter. Another underrated film by John Carpenter is his remake of Village of the Damned, starring Kirstie Alley and Christopher Reeve. Again, children in horror movies are so creepy, and that is no exception. Village of the Damned is fantastic, whether it be the original or the remake by John Carpenter. And then I also recommend any version, whether it's Puppet Masters, the original or remake. Check out Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Such a fantastic movie, especially the one with Donald Sutherland and Jeff Goldblum. And speaking of body snatchers, also check out Get Out. Such a crazy movie that's just like a statement on modern racism, really. And another film that's very similar to it is The Skeleton Key with Kate Hudson. Two crazy body swapping Stepford Wives type of films. And last, for body snatchers, I also recommend Robert Rodriguez's The Faculty with Josh Hartnett and Elijah Wood. Such a fantastic movie in high school. Pretty much Invasion of the Body Snatchers in a high school. Imagine your high school teachers and fellow students being possessed by aliens. Such a crazy good B-movie. For TV shows, I recommend all the seasons of Supernatural. You can't do wrong with the Winchester Brothers. American Horror Story is an anthology horror show in which you can basically choose your favorite seasons to watch. Mine are Asylum, Freak Show, and Cult so far. Bates Motel is a prequel to Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho with Norman Bates. I also recommend Penny Dreadful, a dark retelling of the Penny Dreadful tales, and it has Dracula, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, The Mummy. So many great works of literature combined into this world of Penny Dreadful. Then if you're mood for detectives, I recommend the seasons of Twin Peaks and The X-Files, as well as the old show Dark Shadows. Check out the original 60s Dark Shadows with Barnabas Collins, probably the best version of it. And lastly, on my list, I recommend the television show Goosebumps. Any 90s kid out there, you know the Goosebumps novels and the show on Fox. That's pretty scary for TVY7, and I think it's much better than the movie. It's basically based on the individual stories of the Goosebumps novels. Definitely do yourself a favor and check those out. Anyway, that's it for my Halloween recommendations, Volume 2. Feel free to follow me on the Stardust app at Fred Film Fanatic, and in this imaginary box, you can check out my recommendations from last year. And here are some other videos you can enjoy on my channel. Remember to hit that bell, stay notified, and subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe. There's going to be so many more videos in the month of Halloween.